welcome. Welcome to our third LGBTQ Mixer for Equality. Can you hear me? All right. Earlier this morning, I had a friend call me, and she said, "Mark, I have this 13-year-old," and I thought, I know where this is going. I've gotten this call before. And she said, "He has a penchant for musical theater." And I said, "Oh, honey, I know where this is going." And she said, "My cousin, he's 13 and he lives in a Native American reservation in a rural part of America in Washington State. And he's having a really difficult time. He's stopped going to school, he's feeling isolated, and he's being depressed. He's pretending to be sick all the time so he can get out of class." So we worked together on a little plan of how to, help this boy get back on his feet and make sure he had connections in this rural area in Washington. And it was a reminder that although many people thought that with marriage equality, with our freedom to marry, our movement towards full liberation for all queer people had been achieved, that is quite the contrary, and there's so much more work to do. I wish there were less of those reminders. A day doesn't go by that I don't see a posting on Facebook or get an email from a mother or a brother or a loved one of a transgender person, oftentimes a transgender youth or a transgender woman of color who has been assaulted, attacked, detained by the police, detained by immigration officials, and once they're in there, they're re-assaulted again. And it's really important that all of us recognize that the recent attacks on transgender people are unacceptable, and it involves all of us standing up, oftentimes for the community that has stood up for the whole community from day one. And it's so important to understand that right now in 2016, Equality Federation has been tracking over 200 anti-LGBTQ bills across the country. We fought back against 27 in Oklahoma alone with our partners at Freedom Oklahoma. We killed all 27. Yeah. But as many of you have seen, they used some really horrific anti-transgender rhetoric to pass through a terrible bill in North Carolina. And a lot of people call that the transgender bathroom bill. But let me tell you what else that bill does. It prevents local communities from raising their minimum wage. It prevents all LGBT people from suing their employer for discrimination. So that goes to show that although the anti-transgender rhetoric is the current tool of the opposition, the impact is great on all of us. And that's why we need to stand together with labor, and we need to stand together with all the organizations that fight for communities of color, because as the saying goes, none of us will be free until all of us will be free, right? So, there's a lot of hope, though. There's a lot of hope, all right? The Department of Justice on Friday said that North Carolina was in violation of the Civil Rights Act. Yeah! The Department of Justice and the whole Obama administration, the Department of Education as well, signed a letter to every public school in America saying that they had to let transgender students use the restroom that matched the gender they live every day. And that's a directive from the federal government to every public school. So there's a lot of hope, and we're making a lot of progress with our state partners, from Equality Florida to Basic Rights Oregon. We're doing all this work, and nobody knows more about the importance of intersectionality and the importance of keeping hope alive than our next special guest speaker, our homegrown local hero, Cleve Jones, who was mentored by Harvey Milk himself. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a warm welcome to Cleve Jones.
Who do I sue if I fall off this thing? Well, thanks for inviting me, and I don't want to talk for a long time because I know you're here to meet each other, not me, but next week, May 21st, is Harvey Milk's birthday. The 22nd, the 21st is the anniversary of the White Night riots that occurred when Dan White, who killed Harvey Milk and George Moscone, was convicted of manslaughter, and the whole city erupted. I've been having the surreal and bizarre experience of recreating those times as we've been in town for the production of Dustin Lance Black's new project, When We Rise. I'm very excited about this. We're having to do most of it up in Vancouver, unfortunately, but you saw our crew here over the last couple of weeks. It'll be done by the end of June. My book, the same title, When We Rise, is coming out in November, and we hope this miniseries will air the second week of February. And it's pretty cool that ABC went to Dustin Lance Black with this idea. It wasn't a situation where somebody had to pitch this network on it. They decided to do that. And ABC is owned by Disney, so I'm now in that weird place at 61 years old of having Disney making a mini-series about the life I lived here and my misspent youth. I do want to say a little bit about Harvey because meeting him was the single most important thing that ever happened to me in my life, and everything that has happened to me since goes back to meeting him on the corner of Castro and 18th Street when he told me I needed to register to vote and be part of the process. I wasn't speaking to my own dad at that time, and Harvey became a father figure for me. He was our leader, he was my mentor, he was kind of a dad. And when I found his body lying bloody on the floor in City Hall that awful morning in November 1978, the first thing that went through my mind was, it's over. We've lost everything. It's over, it's over, it's over. And those were the words that were in my head all day long until the sun went down. And tens of thousands of people, gay and straight, black and brown and white, men and women, all ages, gathered at Castro, lit their candles, and began that long walk down to City Hall. And I remember standing in that huge lake of candlelight and knowing it wasn't over, it was just beginning. And I want you to know that he is not a mythical figure. He's not a legend. He was an honest-to-God guy who had a rather unsuccessful camera store on Castro Street. He was not a genius. He was not a saint. His life was full of all the failures and defeats and humiliations that all of us must endure in our own lifetimes. But he was strong, he was honest, he had courage, he loved his people and he loved this city, and he did indeed change the world. That's something every one of you can aspire to do in your own lifetimes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks again for coming, and if you feel inspired, please consider reaching a little deeper into your pocket, making an extra donation to our work. I Facebook stalked all of you, and I know that most of your companies will match that donation. So we can turn today's, $3,000 in ticket sales into $12,000 pretty easily with a few extra donations and some matching from your companies. So feel free to come up front here and do that, and have a great mixer.